Welcome to another episode of VGN Weekly. Members of the Virtual Grip crew will recap the previous week's races and bring us one-on-one interviews with racers, league owners, and commentators, as well as others from within the sim racing community. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's go find some grip.
As the Virtual Grip Network gears up for another action-packed week of sim racing, let's take a quick look back at last week's race winners. On Tuesday, Jeffrey Harden kicked off the yesteryear IROC Series with a win at Daytona International Speedway. On Thursday, Eric Stout dominated when Red Light Racing took the modifieds to Watkins Glen International. Saturday saw Aiden Young come out on top in a chaotic Bootleg Racing League Outlaw SK Modified Series race at Southern National Speedway. Later that same night, Scott Negus added another victory to his record in the Bootleg Racing League Late Model Series, also from Southern National. Dan Hill closed out the week, dicing through lap traffic to take the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the OBRL. Now let's turn things over to John Hine, who's standing by with this week's special guest, James Lowe from the Bootleg Racing League.
Welcome back to VGN Weekly. I am John Hine. This week I am going to be joined by none other than James Lowe, who had a pretty successful last weekend on the track. But James comes to us from the BRL. His first race was all the way back in 2018 at Langley. Since then, he's had 529 starts, 68 wins, 324 top fives. He also has 3 championships to boot. He has got a modified championship, a street stock championship, and a Grand National championship. So a lot of different winning, a lot of different championships. James, it's exciting to bring you on here, and maybe we can pick your brain and learn how some of that success has come your way.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be back in BRL. Took some time off, so it's good to be back racing with all the guys again and having a little bit of fun.
Well, we're glad to see you back. Well, I guess some of us are glad to see you back, but now it's another guy that finds his way to the front and makes winning a little more difficult, which is actually a good thing. But, well, tell us, how did you first find iRacing, and how did you get into the BRL?
It's probably kind of like everybody else. I ran the NASCAR games growing up, Dirt at Daytona, all those things. And then NASCAR 2003 was obviously a game changer, so bought my first wheel way back. I don't think I had force feedback. It was just a little cheap thing. Did that for a little while, and then I'm not sure exactly how I discovered iRacing. Just stumbled across it on a YouTube video maybe one day or something, and it's like, oh, well, I used to love to do that back when I was a younger guy, so let's try it out. So went through the gamut of buying equipment and do all that stuff, and it's turned into a bad habit ever since. But lots of equipment, and just been doing it ever since. It's fun.
Well, we all, especially you and I, as guys that are been around for a while. That's a polite way, I think, saying a little bit older. We come from the world of those console games, the Dirt to Daytona. I think of the Rat Bag games, which are the precursors to iRacing. But even going farther back into the EA stuff, PlayStation and that. So, what was your first impression when you got into it? Because I know for me, it was, this is a whole lot different than anything else I've ever played.
It was cool, and ever since I've started. I haven't been the biggest official race fan, which is probably why I went and found BRL pretty quickly. Just going through the Legends cars and the street stocks and all that stuff you have to go through initially. I'm not even sure if Legends cars was around when I first started, but anyways, the street stocks, starting off there and trying to work your way up as fast as possible, which is probably the wrong way to go about it, but I wanted to run the NASCAR stuff, so that's what I worked towards.
Do you remember where your first iRacing win was? And what car?
I'm sure it had to be a street stock, but where it was, who knows? Concord or something. I used to love to run Concord because it's my home short track. So went there a bunch and raced a bunch on iRacing there.
You talked about the equipment, the old, with no force feedback. So where are you at now with your equipment wise? What have you?
Oh,
What is addiction led you to? I say?
it's a dark path out there. People don't do it. I've had every you name a piece of equipment out there. I've had it. But as of right now, the VRS stuff is really good. So I run the Direct Force Pro wheel and the SimLab pedals I just added recently. It's still a bad addiction, obviously. So I just added those recently, and do an ultra wide monitor. Don't run the triples. I've ran them before. Not for me. I like the ultra wide better. So it's pretty simple, expensive setup. Just find something you're comfortable with and keep it there. Don't go buying a bunch of stuff like I did. It's just silly.
Well, that actually kind of led me to your next question I was going to ask. Somebody that might be watching this that just got into iRacing, and what do you think is the one piece of equipment that if you decide you want to upgrade that might improve not only your on-track performance but comfort? What is that? What would you recommend being that first upgrade be?
The game changer is the pedals. You definitely want a good set of load cell pedals if you can afford them. You can do some tricks and things with the Thrustmaster pedals and the Logitech pedals, the older styles without the load cells that you can still be fast with. But it's a good set of load cells, Hussenfeld, SimLab, any of them out there these days are pretty good. So whatever you can afford, go out and get them.
So for all the BRL drivers listening, if you want to slow him down, break into his house and mess with his pedals. I think that's what that probably sounds like coming down
You,
to. But
you just have to find them all because I have closets full of pedals. So
jeez,
you'd,
you can
you'd
start
have
your
to
own
hunt them down.
marketplace.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Well, you talk about from speed, but what about comfort, like a creature comfort? I know, like for example, for me, I initially started with a wheel clamped to a desk and a desk chair, but when I got, an actual seat and kind of a rig, and holy crap, that probably for me made just as much of a difference as some of the other equipment, just from a comfort standpoint. Is there something out there that helps that submersion that makes you feel like really comfortable and more connected to the car and the sim?
Yeah, it's I've had ran the gamut of that too, and I got a SimLab rig with a NRG racing seat. Um, it's really comfortable. Fits and hugs all the right areas. So at the end of a long night, especially at the BRL where we run 3 different series, at the end of a long night, you're pretty comfortable still, and the back's not complaining as much as it would as sitting in a computer chair or something trying to do it.
Yeah, that's the big thing I noticed, that the back pains, and the older you get, they're inevitable, but mitigating them some,
Yeah.
yeah, the chair, yeah. Well, the cool thing about iRacing too is it allows you to basically dabble in about any form of motorsport most every motorsport that you want. I mean, you can run rallycross, you can run road racing, run dirt, run NASCAR, run short track. I mean, you name it, most everything is in that platform. You are obviously a heck of a short track driver, so I have to guess that's probably where your bread and butter is. But is there any other thing out there that you might just on your off time to maybe you want to kill 20 minutes to go and hop in and just kind of mess around with? Is there anything else out there?
I do a lot of NASCAR stuff as well. So like during the week, I run a couple leagues that are next gen based and Xfinity and whatever else. So I do a lot of that. That's probably 70% of what I do. Pretty much the only short track stuff I do is the BRL. And when I left for that time, I really didn't do much. Maybe a race here or there for the short track stuff, but mostly it's the NASCAR stuff that I do. And I'll dabble. I ran the 24 hours, finished fifth there, so that wasn't bad.
Nice job.
And every once in a while we'll do a road race here or there. But dirt, I used to try it. Just not for me. I love dirt racing, but it's just not for me. So yeah, just NASCAR and short track stuff, pretty much.
Well, I know that the strategy and some of the things you have to do between the short track and the NASCAR stuff, vastly different, whether it be, the 2 miles or the 2.5 mile super speedways, short tracks. But basic skill sets, what do you find that transfers the most between running your modified to your late model in BRL and then going over and running that the NASCAR stuff? Is there anything that you think actually transfers between that, or do you have to completely recalibrate between the two?
Um, it's definitely a balance. You got to have for both. You got to have patience.
Yeah.
You can't go out there and run as hard as you can right at the get go. It just doesn't work out at the end for you. So but you also have to get what you can get when you can get it. So it's a balance. And the late model stuff, obviously, you can't change tires, so that's another factor. The NASCAR stuff, you burn your stuff off. You'll have another set of tires eventually that you can go out and figure out what you messed up and figure it out. But for the late model stuff, yeah, you just gotta be patient, but you also gotta be a little bit aggressive because you don't want to just stay in ninth. You want to kind of, if you can move your way up, you want to get there. So, yeah, I don't always do it effectively, but I try to get through there while still conserving, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't.
Yeah, the patience end of it, and the thing is about that too is that patience level, even though they're both the same, is a little different between the two, in my opinion. Whereas you got a 150 lap NASCAR race or something like that, where the laps are much longer, you can work a guy a little bit different. And this kind of leads me into my next question I have for you. I've been asking drivers their approach to races. Let's stick with BRL here. You look between the modified and the late model. Both those cars are vastly different. How they react to the track is vastly different. Um, do you change your approach between the two cars? I mean, is it just hey, I'm patient here, work my way to the front, or do you have a
There's
different mindset?
there's a lot of factors that go into where you're starting. Obviously, it is going to affect what you can do really. Um, the cars in front of you. Some people, they're pit bulls out there. So if you got Donnie Moore in front of you, he's the Ryan Newman of BRL. So you're gonna have to work for that one. So there's a lot of factors that goes into it. The track, how worn out it is, how it destroys your tires. You kind of have to take all that into consideration when you're starting the race. So how hard you're going to push it, or sometimes I like to just run up to the front and hold on to it and see what happens. But yeah, just you kind of feel it out on a week to week basis and how you're running, how practice goes. How hard you can push it or whatever. So yeah, it's just every week's a little bit different, and hopefully it all works out for the best for you when it all ends.
Well, you talked about practice. We talked a little bit before we started recording about, how you don't really practice during the week. BRL affords you like a 40-minute practice before, and you learn at that point. So when practice does, when you get in there and you're the tracks, we haven't gone to the race yet. So during that practice session, do you have like a checklist of things you want to learn? I mean, what do you use that practice session to better prepare you for the race?
Pretty much all I even for the BRL practices, I don't do a lot of it. I don't want to be worn out by the time the race gets there. So I just mainly, after all the years, I pretty much know right away within about 5 laps of what it's going to be like for a whole race. So as long as I can get the car to turn and the brake bias set right, I usually shut it down and I'll jump back in, 8-9 minutes left in practice and run a few more laps and get out again. But yeah, but that's just years and thousands of laps at this point on these tracks. So I pretty much know right away what it's going to be like and what I need to do offset wise and those kinds of things to get it to go to the end.
Well, last night, or Saturday night, I guess, we shared the track. About 70 laps to go. I think I'm running 6 or so, and you get to me and you drive around me like I'm standing still, which, you know, you're probably a bit faster than me, but usually not that much faster, which tells me you were taking care of your tires and I wore mine out. So in those late model races where tire management is so important, and just between you and I, what is your secret to getting those things to last and doing what you do there? Because at the end of that race, you were really strong.
What I see a lot of guys doing is they drive into the corners really hard, and I'm the exact opposite. I go in really easy and come off hard. So I think that's one of the places where I'm not putting so much wheel in there through the corners and so on and so forth. So I think that's the biggest advantage that I have as of right now, anyway. I just don't drive in as hard, and a lot of people drive in really, really hard, and you notice it through the race. That they start having trouble getting through the corners, and they burn the right front off, and at that point, it's a lot easier to go up there and pick them off one by one, and you kind of spend the first 25, 30 laps, 40 laps, 50 laps even to let that happen. And then it makes it a lot easier for you. You don't have to go in there and get in accidents or risk damage or any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if I had any advice to give to anybody, is slow the corner up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and for the rest of us mere mortals, watching you at the end of those races just stinks because when I saw you come up, I knew that there was no point, absolutely 0 point in trying to fight you, and then watching you go by with that amount of speed, it takes like 5 laps, shaking your head like, man, how the hell does he do that? So I'll take that advice. Maybe I'll start trying to back up my corners a little bit. But boy, I tell you, we were at Southern National, and that track just invites you to drive in so deep there because I mean you can do it and get away with it and still make the corner, but long run you pay for it. So the success we touched on a little bit in the opening there. The success you've had in BRL. I mean, a lot of wins, some championships, and all that. Do you have whether it be a race or whatever it might be? What would you say are your coolest iRacing memories so far?
Uh, yeah, there's a bunch of them. But winning the Grand National Championship was cool. You spend years racing and you finally get one. It's like that. Yes.
Was that your
Winning,
first?
no, I think I won the street stock one, or maybe I don't remember which one was first. But they were all cool. I mean, especially back then, you got the J.R. Shepherds and the Kenny Kibbies, and it was something. So, anytime you could have beat those guys was doing something. So, yeah, those are always cool. As far as the other stuff, I'm sure there's some cool victories in there, but I'm old. I don't remember. I just kind of move on. So, um, yeah, it's just
I was gonna say you sound like you move on from the successes pretty quickly, but how long did you let's say you're leading and you screw up with like 10 to go? How long do those stick with you?
that's an interesting point you bring up, and that's probably why I left BRL the first time around, because there comes a point where you feel like you should be up front and be winning, obviously, and you let it get to your head, and it gets way too serious. It stops being fun. So, that's what I had to step away for a while to reevaluate what I was doing on the service. So we got it back to being fun, and we're gonna keep it that way. But yeah, it's just, man, you want to win, and you just can't do it all the time. So you got to keep that in consideration when you come here for fun. We do Saturday nights for fun. We do all the leagues for fun. It's not like we're up for money and fame, So why take it so serious? And we had to kind of step back and get that under control. And now we're back and we're having fun. So
Well, if much as you're winning here now, and it sounds like that's probably the right path, a little more relaxed, and more relaxed you are, probably the less mistakes and stuff like that a driver will make, to be honest with you. Um, you talked about the championships and the wins, being cool. Is there, you talked about Concord being your home track. what is your mindset when races come up? And I think BRL might go there once, maybe twice a year. So on that week of that track, what are your thoughts like going into those races? Do you have any like preconceived expectations?
No, not really. Actually, Concord is, at least BRL wise, has not been kind to me. I've ran pretty good there, but I don't know if I've ever won there. To be honest, I might have, but who knows? But I go into it like every other race. I show up 6:25 on Saturday night and try to figure it out and go from there.
Uh, that's pretty cool. I mean, the closest track that I guess it has Gateway. We have Gateway, so that's my home track. But I don't do enough NASCAR stuff to get to go there very often. But I always, when I have taken laps there, I do think it's kind of cool because you see the things that as when you've gone there as a fan, you see the stuff. If you take um, a blimp view of Gateway, you can see the arch in St. Louis in the background. Well, I'm from St. Louis. I-55, you can see the smokestacks and all that. So when you're sitting in the stands, you can see it. So when you go there, is there something visually that you see that's like, yep, I'm here.
Yeah, that's a cool part. I could see exactly where me and my dad sat every week
Oh,
for
that's
years and
cool.
years and years and years. You can see the concession stand I went to get my French fries or whatever.
That is
Um,
awesome.
you can see the place where Ernie Irvan, Bobby Labonte, Jack Sprague, Freddie Query, you name it. I've seen them race out there. So it was really cool in that aspect. Because I've seen a ton of races out there. I'm 1,000 probably. Um, so we went there every week, but yeah, that's the cool part about it, and it's pinpoint on what it looks like out there, or what it did look like anyway.
When you go back to that track, after having driven it in iRacing, did you look at it any different? Did you kind of look around? And I mean, was there anything did it change your perspective of the track when you were there?
I've never had the chance to go back since I started iRacing.
Oh,
It's been shut down for years.
no, that's true.
The track's still there. Copart owns it now, but the track's still there. They didn't get rid of that, so maybe one day it'll come back around.
Well, are there any other tracks that that you might go to that you've been into in iRacing?
Oh yeah, tons of them. I've been to Darlington, where I saw my first ever NASCAR race was Darlington, Rockingham, Richmond, Daytona.
So
Um,
well, let me ask you real quick. When you go to those tracks after been in iRacing, did it change your perspective of them? I mean, I mean,
and
what different
that's the
viewpoint?
funny thing is haven't been to any of those tracks either since
Okay,
all the racing I've been to was much younger in life.
gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
since I was in the military for a while, and I
Oh,
just haven't made it back out to the track. I'm the couch type of guy now. I'd much rather watch it on the couch than get out in the traffic
watch
and the
flow.
heat. And yeah. So I haven't been out to many racetracks. I've been to Langley a few times, but other than that, yeah, not much.
Unfortunately, I'm getting to that point in my life too. It's like, okay, do I want to go out there, sit on those uncomfortable, bleachers, and I mean, you can't. I mean, it's better going to watch. It's the effort it takes to go watch. It's like, I don't know if I want to do this now.
Yeah, and
Um,
I've
uh,
been to hundreds of
yeah.
races, NASCAR and short track alike. So I'm good. Yeah.
Well, you talked about Darlington, and you've been able to see some history from what I understand your background. So if let's start with Darlington. Yeah, I know your favorite driver is Awesome Bill, right? And so were you there when he got the $1 million, or is that just your favorite memory that you have?
I was there sitting on the front stretch back when it was. Now it's the back stretch, but it used to be the front stretch.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, you see the canopy. We were sitting under that canopy, and it's about 4 or 5 years old. Saw my first race there. Bill Elliott won $1 million, and yeah, been a fan of his ever since.
What what do you remember about that day the most? I mean, just him winning.
Not
But do you
much,
remember? Do
not
you
much to
know
be
much
honest.
the money flying around in victory lane? Because I remember
Yeah,
because my memory of that is I don't remember watching it, but I do remember my parents got me a subscription to Sports Illustrated back then, and I remember that particular Sports Illustrated came in when he won that, and he was on the cover and had the $1 million bills flying around. And I always thought it'd be really cool if I could get one of those fake $1 million bills and all that stuff on there. So that was a really cool thing, and I thought it blew my mind that a guy just won $1 million racing. So
Yeah.
then you were also there, not there, but at Charlotte, right, for the infamous pass in the grass. I mean, it really wasn't a pass in the grass. It was more of a
Yeah, it
save in
wasn't.
the. It was a
Yeah.
save in the grass. But how old were you when you went to that one?
Oh God, what year was that? I don't even know.
Oh, I couldn't tell you the year. Mid '80s is what it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
probably seven, eight, nine.
how vivid of a memory do you have of that particular race and being there?
I remember the race well. Being a Bill Elliott fan, the outcome didn't turn out the way I wanted, but yeah, I remember the race. Tons of races from there. We went to every Charlotte race from when I was probably 5 to when I was
Wow.
16 or so. My dad he knew a beer distributor that always
nice.
hooked us up with some tickets. So we went to every race pretty much and saw.
Were you there the first night race that happened there?
Is that the one where Davey Allison got wrecked at the end?
Yeah, that's the one where Davey.
Yeah. Was that one?
Was at the hospital while his team was in victory lane.
Yeah. That was a vicious wreck. You could hear it. The sound of that was incredible.
So you were there.
Yep, was at that one.
But that was the first speedway to be lit up during a race and all that. So what was your thoughts going into that race? What was your expectation of what you were going to see, and then what was it like visually?
It was cool. A bunch of the cars had some special paints going on, so you could see them. Obviously, it was since lights were first coming around. I remember there being some spots in the track that you couldn't see all that great. But I mean, it was cool. The sparks flying, and when they wrecked, it was like the Davey Allison wreck was insane. Just the amount of sparks coming off of that thing. So yeah, it was different for sure, but it was just a bigger short track race. You go to a Saturday night race, it was all lit up. It's kind of the same thing, just in a bigger platform.
Did you get a sense of history that night, though? I mean, like I said, that was the first speedway race to be lit up ever.
It was so much better being out there at night and not under the blistering 105 degrees.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that was the biggest difference. As far as history, I was probably too young to realize it was going to be something that turned into. Now they hold these night races all the time, but yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience. Other than that,
were you ever able to get down to Dawsonville then and see where they ring that bell when Bill won and now Chase winning? And
no, I've never been to any of that stuff. Yeah.
Does your because a lot of Dale Earnhardt Sr. fans gravitated towards Dale Jr. when Sr. passed. So is that for you kind of the same? You kind of watch Chase from afar. If you follow NASCAR now, do you kind of root for him now?
Yeah, I always root for him. Any of the Hendrick guys, really. I'm a Hendrick guy, so any of those guys, if they win, that's great. Anybody but Joe Gibbs. That's what I say. I don't know what it is about them Toyotas. It's just not my thing. Yeah, I always been a Dale Jr. fan. I was even a Dale Jr. fan before I was really a Dale Sr. fan, if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
Yeah, I always liked Dale Jr. And yeah, now Chase kind of fills that void. I'm a big Ross Chastain guy too, as well. So
Melon Man,
the Melon Man, and SVG. I always pull for him. So
he's always such a great interview.
Yeah.
SVG is, and Watermelon Man, that Martinsville deal that he bonsai'd it through 3 and 4. That is something that's going to live on. People are still going to be talking about that 20 years from now. All the stuff that Bill's done, how much did you follow? Because at one point he set the enclosed speed record for enclosed tracks. I think it was like 212 that he did at Talladega. How much did you follow those exploits?
I watched every week religiously and cheered just as hard as you could cheer from my living room. um,
So then for you, then we talk about memories and all that. What is your coolest Bill Elliott memory that you can remember as a fan that you watched and you were just like over the moon about?
um, I mean, the first one obviously is hard to beat. The Darlington $1 million win was really a 1 in a million shot. Just especially being the first one. That was pretty cool. All the rest of it just kind of blends together at this point. I'm sure there's some cool moments in there, but who knows? I'm
The
too old to be.
interesting thing about him, at least from my perspective, is you think about the $1 million. He was part of that pass on the grass. He was, the set that enclosed record. His dominance, through the mid to late '80s on the plate tracks was just incredible. But when he won his championship, it seems like all those, for me anyway, those individual peaks, on track kind of overshadows his championship. I think to me, his championship was like one of the more quiet championships to ever, you know, be given. I mean, is that the same for you as a fan? Do you kind of, hey, you got the championship? Do you remember that championship run, or do the races stick out more for you?
The races probably stick out more. I think that was more of his personality traits, though. He was
Yeah, I can
quiet
see
guy,
that.
so I think a lot of stuff for him got lost in translation when you had the Darrell Waltrips and the Rusty Wallaces and the Daryl Earnhardts out there, being as
Big
loud and as boisterous
personalities.
as they can be. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
that's
point. And
that's probably another reason why I really pulled for him is he was more of me than any of the other ones were.
yeah, he and his brother Ernie, boy, they had that thing, that old number 9 humming there through a good part of, I
Yeah.
guess you could just almost say the entire '80s, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
it was the whole '80s pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, outside of racing, I know that you dabble in a couple things, and I know it might not be to the frequency you like, but talk about some of your other interests that you have.
Yes, I play guitar a lot more when I was younger. I played in bands and things back when I was in my teens and early 20s, and so I do that a lot. Got a bunch of guitars. Don't get to play it very much anymore, but I got them here in case the daughter ever wants to partake in them.
Well, what kind of music, can I ask?
I
What
was
kind of music
yeah.
is your forte to play?
Back when I was doing the band things and all that, it was pretty heavy. So,
Oh, all
uh,
right. I can work with that. How heavy?
it was I don't know if you
Metallica,
know.
Slayer,
Yeah, it was in that realm. Testament
Anthrax,
was a big band of mine back in the day.
Testament. Yes.
So we played a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Alex Skolnick, I think.
Yep.
Awesome guitar player there for
Although my
Testament.
my favorite guitar player ever was the guy that replaced him for a little while, James Murphy. He was incredible, and that was
Yeah.
that was who I kind of tried to be like. I nowhere close
So
to him, but that's
So that would be more those guys would be more your influence, not anybody like, because usually when I talk to guitar players, they'll talk about like Jimmy Page or you know Hendrix and stuff like that. Did you just go right to the metal, or was it just a graduation to, hey,
yeah. I kind of like guys who one they play really well, but two they have really incredible tone, and that's kind of what I gravitate towards. So most people I like the James Murphys and the Alex Skolnicks and people like that. They incredible tone, and that's what I was always fighting to get was good tone.
so what kind of guitars? I mean, what's your favorite guitar?
I got a few. As of right now, I got an Ibanez that I really like, the S type, and it sounds really good. It probably doesn't sound too good right now because it has been played for quite a while. But I got a Fender like everybody else. It's all hot rodded up though. It's not the traditional, single coil strat that you would think about. But so it's pretty hot rodded and gets pretty chunky. But I got some baritones and things like that. A couple acoustics. But other than that, yeah, not too much.
Very nice. But you also like to play golf, I understand, right?
Not well, but I do like to play. Yeah.
So when do you get to do that often, or is that something also that it's every now and again?
Yeah, that's something that's kind of cooled down. Especially since getting out of the Coast Guard. All my golf buddies are kind of spread far and wide. So yeah, not as much of that going on anymore either. But maybe we'll get back into it here. I know there's a few guys they've come back around, so maybe we'll get that going again. But yeah, I love to play golf. It's really relaxing when you let it be. You just get to go out there and not think about anything
You
else.
should reach out to Lowell. I know it's not the same as being out there on the links and having a cooler of beer on the back of the cart and kind of BSing through 18 holes, which is always a lot of fun. But they have a golf club here in BRL too.
Yeah, I
I
saw where
know,
they had that going on.
yeah, I know a few of the guys, and I've heard them talk about it. Sounds like a really good time with them. So, um, I wish I had time to do it. I do not have the time to do that. So, um, yeah. So if you're ever interested, hit up Lowell. They do have a golf deal there. So, you mentioned at the Coast Guard. That is a cool sounding job. What did you do for the Coast Guard, or what do you do for the Coast Guard?
Pretty much communications type of stuff. So I was the guy sitting in a room when somebody would hell out needing some help. So we talk to them and get them the help they needed. So yeah, did that for quite a while. Was on a ship for a little while. That was mostly just going out and catch people doing bad things out there in the middle of the Caribbean. Um, yeah, it was really cool to do.
So where were you stationed out of?
I started off in Charleston. That's where I was on a Coast Guard cutter down there for a couple years, and then I made my way up to Boston for 4
Oh,
years.
wow.
That was really cool. Lived in Salem. It was pretty cool. And then we made our way down to Hampton Roads area and lived down here ever since.
You talk about the hailing of ships, people not doing. I mean, when you guys went out, the communication, did you have which one you liked better, being on the boat, or did you like being in the room and handling the communications? Did you have a favorite between the two?
It was kind of 50-50. Being on the boat was cool because you got to go see places that you probably never get to go see otherwise. Been to Aruba and Colombia and
Oh,
Jamaica and
wow.
Curacao and all these places that you get to stop in and hang out and have fun at. Um, but being at home, you get to go home every day. That's always, a bigger positive than being out on a boat for 3 to 6 months at a time.
Well, I'd have to imagine at times that sounds awful rewarding. Sometimes it sounds awful scary. Sometimes it sounds kind of fun. Um, what an interesting line of work. And you're still working for the Coast Guard, correct?
No, I got out of the Coast Guard back in 2018, and now I'm a contractor for the Navy.
Oh, for the Navy, that's right. So
Yeah.
what do you do for the Navy now?
Just IT work.
Okay,
Um,
I
yeah,
Do you
just
work on their ships, or just as a back to the
no.
communication?
I work for a command here in Norfolk,
Okay.
and take care of their 97,000 people.
Okay. Well, I don't want to say or ask anymore and have shut off. Hey, they're talking about anything classified, so I don't want to get you because
It's
I'm sure they're pumped.
basic IT stuff. It's
Oh,
nothing major.
okay. So no top secret, hey, clearance and all
Nah,
that stuff. Well, still, that's so. I should say thank you for your service. Very,
appreciate it.
very cool. You talked a little bit about your family, your daughter. Can you mind talking about your family? Give us a little
Yeah, sure.
background about who you are and.
Yeah, so I'm 45, almost 46. I got a little 12-year-old daughter. Um, Her birthday's 2 days before mine, so that's cool.
Oh, nice.
Um, so yeah, that's when I do show up to races and things like that. That's why I just kind of show up right before because I'm busy, catering to her every need. And um, my dad passed away a couple years ago, and so
Sorry to hear that.
it's all right. And so my mom and my sister were down in Rock Hill at the family house that had been down there forever. And so everybody's getting older, getting up in age. So I bought a house about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago at this point, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Big enough to where we could all move up here and be all together. So um, so yeah, it's just me and my mom, my sister, and my daughter, and in this house. It's a cool house. It affords us the ability. It's pretty much like two houses in one. So
Nice.
um, So yeah, it's like everybody's here, which is always cool. It's the first time I've been able to say that since 2005 when I left off for the Coast Guard. So that's cool. Being a mama's boy, having your mama real close by instead of having to travel 7 hours to go see her. But so yeah, that's pretty much just trying to get the daughter through school and growing up and be a nice, respectful young lady.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Having family close, I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually even had that, and that stuff cannot be undersold, the importance of just having family around, good support systems for various things that can pop up, and um, that's pretty cool, actually. I actually think that's cooler than the Coast Guard stuff. So, um, do you guys? Is there like a big, if you're that close, is there a big family function? I hate to say, not so much a reunion kind of thing, but is there something that all of you guys have in common that you guys come together and do outside of like Thanksgiving or things like that? But is there like an event or something like that?
Now it's a lot easier because now if we want to go do something, we just hop in the car and go. um, But before, we have family reunion, even though you don't want to go there, but we have family
Well,
reunions that I haven't been to any. It's probably bad on me, but my work schedule it just doesn't allow for me to make it to many of those, and um, so yeah, it's a lot easier now that we're all kind of here together. But so we just kind of go do whatever we want to do.
yeah, my wife's family, up until, her parents passed, grandfather passed, but, when we first got together, like 4th of July, we'd always all go watch the fireworks as a whole big group, and I always thought that was really cool. And being close to everybody, that affords you opportunities, like you said, to do that. Is there an activity though that you talk about jumping in the car and going do? Is there an activity that you guys, okay, yeah, let's go. I'd rather be going to the beach or hiking or ball games, whatever. Is there an activity that it's really
Um,
easy to get everybody on the same page and say, let's go?
yeah, we were 35, 40 minutes away from the Outer Banks, so that's been the recent go-to, kind of where we wind up. Or Virginia Beach or any of those kinds of places are really nice on a summer day. So, um, yeah, we got options, but to say we do it a lot, probably not a lot. But I mean, we see each other every day, so that's the main point. And you don't need special events when you get to see the people you
It's
love
true.
every day. So.
That's true. Well, you talked about the Outer Banks and all that. I forgot to ask. I should have asked considering where you're at, but you ever get to go and play those golf courses that are out there? Because there's some really nice golf courses on that Outer Bank.
Yeah, I haven't got to go out there yet. Obviously, before I made the move here to Elizabeth City, I lived up in Portsmouth forever, the whole time I've been down here. So we played all those golf courses in those cities, Norfolk and Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, all those places. We played about everyone there, but haven't ventured down that Outer Banks yet. I'd like to, though.
Well, for those of us that ever venture out to that way, is there a place out there in the Outer Banks? What's your favorite beach to go to?
Um, it's a come to a surprise for you as well, since I live on the coast. Is I'm not the biggest beach guy.
Ah,
I'm I'm fair skinned, the sun and me just don't get along, and um, so yeah, pick a beach, I'll go to it, but I'm not gonna be
gotcha,
there very long because I might burn.
gotcha. Well, James, it's been really cool sitting here and getting to know you and kind of a little bit about your background, your family and things that you like to, do and race and stuff like that. So I do want to thank you for your time and everything this week. And, there's a couple things that we've got to get to. Before I kind of, we tie up the show here, but the one thing that I always like to do is a green white checker, and I've always done it either or, but it's just going to be rapid fire topics is what I think I'm going to just do, just three really quick topics. So you ready to play along? Okay. So first is starting up front and leading all the laps and winning, or working your way back from the back of the pack and winning. Which one for you is more rewarding? Which one do you like better?
I'm a huge fan of coming from the back. Even when I do fun races and things like that, I'll start in the back on purpose just to try to make your way up through there. It's just a lot more fun.
I know you've got three of them, and so pick your favorite championship that you won. Which one was the most rewarding for you?
The Grand National one for sure.
Why?
Um, it's just tough, man. Like I said, the guys running. I mean, when you got J.R. Shepard in there, it's no easy task, and he might even miss a race or two, which might be the reason why I won it. But we're not going that way. I won the thing,
You
and,
won it. You can only beat
I
the
won
guys that show up.
So Kenny Kibbe's and I think Dunhorst even back then, and I forget some names, but there was a bunch of guys that were hard to beat.
Cool. Well, in 2 words, can only use 2 words. Explain your driving style.
Patiently aggressive.
Patiently aggressive. I like that. That's kind of a that's probably one of the hardest ways to race.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, being on the track with you often, you do it well.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, well, again, like I said, James, it's been really cool to get to talk to you. I'm so glad that you came back into the league. The BRL is better when you're there. So it is cool to see you come back and whatnot. So I hope you stick around for a while. But before we go, anybody like to kind of give a little bit of a shout out, any sponsors or anything like that on your cars, or just anything that's kind of made your journey what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I'd be really terrible if I didn't thank my Aunt Mary Alice. She watches every race. She's in the broadcast every week, cheering me on for every race I do. So, got to give a big shout out to her and my family for being here and taking on some things when my daughter's here that allows me to do some of this stuff. And yeah, just you guys putting on the broadcast. I love going back every Saturday and watching them back, or maybe Sundays I'll go watch them back. But it's always fun to go back and watch them back and see what you could have done better, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, no real sponsors, but yeah, can't wait for Oswego to try to figure it out.
Well, and speaking of Oswego, you haven't. You said you haven't raced there. Have you been on the track yet there?
I haven't loaded it up one time. I bought it a couple weeks ago when I saw it was on the schedule, but I'm just not that kind of guy. So I'll log in at 6:30 on Saturday and we'll figure it out.
I am hoping that I can make it. I've rented on dirt a handful of times. Both times I think that we've run it in BRL so far. I've been in the broadcast booth both times. So I've got some meetings at the corporate office this week. So I'm hoping I can not be too tuckered out come Saturday night to hop on the track there. But I'll tell you, the one thing about it, we're used to the paperclip Martinsville, the short radius turns. I don't know that we have too many that are big, long sweeping turns, but Oswego, those are long sweeping turns to get through there. So that'll be a different dynamic. The closest track that I can think of would be Langley.
Yeah.
Because those turns, those are kind of wide radius turns there at Langley. I think there's a little more banking though at Oswego, not much, but a little bit more, and the straightaways are a heck of a lot longer.
Yeah, I watched a couple of YouTube videos. Just kind of see what it looked like. I have no clue what it even looks like, and it's going to be interesting for sure.
You know, if you show up now, never having put it in, you load up, you race, and you win, I might have to turn you the following week out of irritation because, you know,
I highly doubt that's gonna. I highly doubt that's gonna happen, but
there's gonna be a lot of guys going, really great. Everybody's gonna throw their hands up and say, you know,
yeah, just
the next JR.
I'm just not a practice all week kind of guy, so
Yeah.
we'll figure it out as it comes. Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best in Oswego, and I do want to thank you for putting up with us here for the afternoon and recording this thing here with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back, and appreciate Lowe for letting me come back in here and have fun with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, from all of us here at VGN, we thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. So until then, have a great week.
Coming up on VGN. Tonight, Tuesday, February 25th, catch the VGN debut of the Yesteryear Racing 1966 Tour Modified Series live from Daytona at 8:30 p.m. The RLR Skidder Creek SK Modified Series will be live from USA Speedway on Thursday, February 27th at 7:55 p.m. The BRL Modifieds and Late Models from Oswego Speedway will air on Saturday, March 1st at 7:40 p.m. The OBRL Yesteryear Cup Series goes live at 8 p.m. from Circuit of the Americas on Sunday, March 2nd. And catch the next episode of VGN Weekly at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March 4th, all times Eastern. You can see our full schedule and more at virtualgrip.net.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of VGN Weekly. Join us next time for race recaps, interviews, and much, much more. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network and the Skidder Creek Motorsports Group.